Good evening. I hereby call this June the 13th meeting of the Public Safety Committee to order. We have all of our committee members present today. I do want to make a quick announcement that the adoption of the 2022-2023 budget will be held on Tuesday, June 21st of 2022. That meeting is going to be at 7 o'clock here in the council chambers. As always, we like to take this part of the meeting and just thank our police department, our fire department, and our emergency management departments, the public safety personnel, for the work that you do to keep our citizens safe. We love and appreciate you, and hopefully you will see that appreciation when we approve the budget on June 21st at 7 p.m. With that being said, members of the committee, items on the consent agenda are typically approved with one sweeping motion. We have a very short consent agenda. Are there any items that should be pulled for consideration? If there are no items, I'd entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
It's been motioned and properly seconded. All in favor, please vote yes when your screens come up, and opposers, no. The consent agenda is approved unanimously. Item G1, please.
Item G1, report on violent crime initiatives.
Assistant Chief Weaver, welcome to the podium. At your leisure, you have the floor, sir.
Ma'am, is there a way to maximize this? Is there a way to maximize it? No, it's not. I need the whole thing up, like you do a PowerPoint.
Where's that little man?
While we're working through the technical difficulties, if you don't mind, I will recognize Councilmember Mundy for a few comments.
Thank you, Chair Taylor. I just wanted to recognize two what I consider very important people who have retired from the police force over the last couple of months. As much as we hate to lose a good officer, their time has come and they're ready to enjoy life outside the police force. Captain Chris Louder with the District 3 commander, retired on May the 1st. And Captain Steve Tolley, the commander of the Criminal Investigation Division, retired on June 1st. I've worked fairly closely with Captain Louder, as his office was right down the street from my house, and I just appreciate his responsiveness and his patience with me as I was learning many new things. So just remember these gentlemen, and the next time you're thinking about our police officers, they're enjoying retirement now.
Thank you, Councilman Mundy. It's certainly been a pleasure to work with Captain Tolley and Captain Louder. We appreciate your service, and we hope you enjoy your retirement. With that being said, we'll turn it over to Assistant Chief Weaver.
Good evening, Chair Taylor, Vice Chair Larson, Council Members Burke and Mundy, other elected officials and members of the city government. I am W.S. Weaver II, your Assistant Police Chief over the Winston-Salem Police Department Patrol and Special Operations Divisions. As I'm sure you're familiar with Scott Sexton's column yesterday in the Winston-Salem Journal, he briefly discussed the shootings from Sunday a week ago. I want to tell you that we actually experienced 5 shootings within that 24-hour period, which actually began at 2:17 a.m. Sunday morning, with a victim shot in the 1200 block of Boanna Park Circle, which is in the 13th, 14th, and North Cherry Street area, just northeast of University Parkway. For information only, none of those 5 shootings appear to have been related, and although our investigative efforts seized 9 guns and hundreds of rounds of ammunition, we did make 3 arrests, and we continue to follow up on investigative leads that may lead to additional arrests. So as you see on the above map, which was current as of Councilmember Burke's gun violence forum that was held on May 25th, and this is for the 2022 incidents only, gun violence incidents are occurring all across our city. The incidents depicted on the map involve homicides, persons that were actually shot, shootings into occupied residences or vehicles, and known juveniles as shooters. Our city, all major cities, and some of the smaller municipalities, such as Lexington and Thomasville, small municipalities across our state and across our country, are actually experiencing large amounts of firearm-related violence. Firearm-related violence is the #1 challenge for the Winston-Salem Police Department as a professional law enforcement agency. And it's also the #1 challenge for our law enforcement colleagues in the cities and towns of North Carolina, as well as across our nation. In Winston-Salem, local, state, and federal resources are being utilized to address this challenge, and I'll speak of those in this presentation also. And although this presentation primarily discusses our current initiatives to address gun violence, I do want to briefly discuss our state of readiness. I've been in my current position since 2014, and along with our City of Winston-Salem Public Safety Department heads that have served under previous Mayor Pro Tempore, Dr. Vivian H. Burke, and our city manager will remember this, she would always ask us, are we ready? With that, I'd like to say for a minute that the Gun Violence Archive advises us that as of midday yesterday, there have been 260 mass shootings across our country, and those are defined as 4 or more shooting victims, not including the shooter. That's over 40 mass shootings each month of 2022 across our country. And so based on our WSPD policy, our training, and our leadership, I can again definitively answer Dr. Burke's question as, yes, we are ready. In 2019, Winston-Salem Police Department seized over 900 firearms. WSPD has seized over 1,000 firearms each year in 20 and 21. And as of June 9th, 2022, WSPD has already seized 509 firearms. We anticipate seizing over 1,000 firearms in 2022 also. And this does not count our city council-approved buyback guns. So our city council approved the gun buybacks, which were led by Councilmember Burke, and they occurred in November of 2021, as well as January of 2022, and both were extremely successful. But you, our city council, authorized spending over $119,000 to obtain unwanted firearms. And those are weapons that can't be stolen, those weapons can't be misplaced, they can't harm a child. And most importantly, those weapons will not have the business end pointed at any of our residents nor any of our law enforcement professionals. So as you see our federal partners that are listed here, we have excellent working relationships with each of them. And the same can be said with our state of North Carolina partners. We have excellent working relationships with them. So the Forsyth County Drug Task Force. Keep in mind that our Forsyth County Drug Task Force combines our resources from the Forsyth County Sheriff's Office, the Kernersville Police, Winston-Salem Police Department, and also contains elements from our federal partners. And we're all familiar with the nexus of drugs and guns. And as this task force does its work, they're also making gun seizures too. Our G Crew, that's the Gun Crime Reduction Unit, and our VFIT, that's the Violent Firearms Investigations Team, have similar but slightly different missions. G Crew responds to gun crimes with our patrol division officers to begin detailed preliminary investigations into firearm offenses. And our VFIT works out of our Criminal Investigations Division, where they conduct detailed investigations into firearms offenses also, and they build cases against our known shooters that we have out in the community. Both units were authorized by this committee. Both have access to our other resources that you'll see to the right of the slide, which include ShotSpotter. If you remember, that's our gun shot detection system. NIBIN, the National Integrated Ballistics Information Network, which allows us to track gun crimes that may have occurred anywhere in the country involving guns that are here in Winston-Salem. LPR stands for the license plate readers, which 2 months ago, this committee also gave us authorization to go ahead and proceed in a pilot program with the license plate readers. Camera technology, the installation of camera technology is going to occur in all 8 wards. You had a discussion with Mr. Koreska about obtaining those funds for that for that camera technology last month, I believe it was. The RTIC with Forsyth County Sheriff's Office stands for the Real-Time Intelligence Center. And then, of course, our RTCC, which you've also authorized, which stands for Real-Time Crime Center. Those 2 groups work in concert to provide information in real time to our law enforcement professionals so that they can assist in prevention, deterrence, and also solving firearm-related crimes that are occurring. Our saturation patrols with Forsyth County Sheriff's Office. Forsyth County Sheriff Bobby Kimbrough Jr. authorized his deputies to assist Winston-Salem Police Department in reducing gun violence across our cities. Our saturation patrols are primarily deployed in our ShotSpotter locations, which consistently have most of the activity going on in the Northeast Ward. Our Community Priority Patrol, that's where our WSPD officers deploy into our neighborhoods to talk to our residents about some of the issues of concern that are related to each of our neighborhoods. This is just another aspect of our community-oriented policing, which Winston-Salem Police Department adopted as an organizational philosophy and a policing strategy in 1989. Community-oriented policing is the only way that WSPD knows how to police. The Winston-Salem Police Department Gang Unit and the Forsyth County Sheriff's Office Juvenile Intervention and Investigation Team, and also the Forsyth County Sheriff's Office THRAT, which stands for the High Risk Apprehension Team, work very closely together, exchanging intelligence, information, investigative leads, so that they can interrupt gang and juvenile-associated violence in what's been named the Safe Streets Initiative. These groups are separate, and they are not a task force. Additionally, the Gang Reduction Steering Committee, which is coordinated by Dr. Pam Peoples-Joyner, who is the Winston-Salem Police Department Community Assistance Liaison, attempts to reduce our gang membership by providing community-based resources and gang membership exit strategies, which may include housing, food, transportation, and employment opportunities for those looking to exit the lifestyle. And most importantly, our community engagement activities. They include our Youth Citizens Police Academy, that's for youth 14 to 18 years old, that want to know more about WSPD or the criminal justice system, and actually what we do on a day-to-day basis. We have a week-long opportunity in which we talk to our kids about our agency, and we'll feed our kids also. That will start next Tuesday, June 21st. And for information, you can call the Community Resources Unit, and their number is listed there. Additionally, we also have education programs as well as gun locks that are available for our residents. Once again, to access those resources, please contact our Community Resources Unit. WSPD is on social media. Please follow us. And that concludes my presentation. Do you have any questions that we can answer?
Thank you for the presentation, Assistant Chief Weaver. Are there any questions for him at this time? I tell you what, we'll go ladies first and work my way down. Councilmember Scipio.
Thank you. Chief Weaver, it's great to hear about your Youth Citizens Police Academy. Is it too late for young people to sign up for that?
No, ma'am, it's not.
Is there a cost?
No, there's no cost. It's free. We're going to feed them for free, all of that. If they'll call our Community Resources Unit, they'll be able to gain access to the Youth Citizens Police Academy.
And what age?
14 to 18.
14 to 18. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Councilwoman Burke.
Thank you, Chair Taylor. Thank you, Chief Weaver, for that presentation, and I want to say thank you for all that you do for our community. Thank you, Chief Thompson. I see you, and Chief Penn. I really appreciate all that you do to keep us safe. I don't have a question, just a comment. Thank you for attending the town hall that I hosted on May 25th, and thank you for your willingness to participate in Saturation Patrol along with the other agencies that offered their services. I am just grateful. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Larson.
I thank you. This may actually be directed toward the city attorney. Is she still here?
She is, sir.
I am fascinated by the number of weapons that you seize, 1,000 each year for the last couple of years. Looks like you're well on track to doing more than that this coming year. And it used to be, when I first came on council, I learned that we could not destroy these weapons, that they had to go into storage. Is that the current status?
Attorney Carmen's recognized.
Thank you, Chairman Taylor. I'll be happy to defer the question to Assistant City Attorney Lori Sykes if she's here.
She is.
Because I'm not sure that I recall the current state of the law at this point.
Attorney Sykes, you have the floor, ma'am.
Thank you. That is correct. The law was changed in, I believe, September of 2013. The legislature said that guns could not be destroyed unless they did not have a legible serial number or they were basically unworkable, out of repair. And so as a result of that, we have borne the burden of storing a great number of firearms. And I don't have any information about whether the legislature will do anything different in the future as to that change in the law.
Does this include the weapons that we buy back? Is this a buyback weapons also, or is this all weapons that we own?
For the buyback weapons, sir, we we consulted with the School of Government, and because those are not weapons that were seized as evidence, they can be treated differently, and they do not have to be handled the same way as the statute. I can't speak personally about what we've done with those weapons, but they do not count in the same way under the law.
I'd like to know what our policy is on them destroying weapons that we keep inventorying and storing these things at great expense and inconvenience, and anything we can do to reduce that inventory would be, I think, welcomed. And I think as far as our legislative agenda goes, I think it's a topic that we should bring up again, that municipalities are burdened with these weapons and we're not able to dispose of them. And it seems inequitable for us to be having to do that.
That would not be a topic eligible for this current legislative session, but we could look at it for the long session next year.
Right.
Council votes to put that on the
our
agenda.
long-range thinking here to try to address it. It just seems to be getting worse every year. And kudos to the police department for being able to acquire all of these weapons. I mean, it may be a sad commentary that we have that much weaponry floating around in the city, that 1,000 weapons every year can be picked up off crime scenes. But thank you for your work on that area.
Yes, sir. And Vice Chair Larson, I'd like to explain to you also that in relation to the gun buyback fund guns, because of the city council authorization to utilize our money, basically those guns are bought by the police department and now owned by the city, so we can destroy them. And we actually brought in a vendor to destroy all of those weapons that we got from both those gun buybacks.
Excellent work. Thank you for that.
Yes, sir.
And before I recognize Councilman Monday, thank you, Attorneys Carmen and Sykes. Question came up on the dais. It looks like from the information, as of 6/9/22, the police department has seized 509 firearms. Does that mean we have arrested over 500 people, or are we finding that, a few people have multiple firearms? What is the premise behind it?
It's some of all of that, but take into account, too, that we have people that run from us that throw guns away that we may never actually apprehend, and so some of those guns are coming up in those ways, too. But we also, when we're serving some of these search warrants, we may locate 8 or 9 guns. I saw that from this weekend on a search warrant that we actually served on a residence that had 8 or 9 weapons in it with 3 or 4 people in it. And so that's part of where those issues are coming from.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Councilman Monday.
Thank you for the presentation. It's always good to know where we are in the process.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned LPRs, the license plate readers.
Yes, sir.
believe it's about a month ago, you and I talked about this, and we were just in the identifying where those would be placed in the community. Can you give us an update on where we are now?
We've been speaking with the vendors, and I believe we have actually determined where they will be located in each of the 8 wards, but at the same time, they've not been installed yet, and so we anticipate that to occur sometime across the summer.
Okay, so when we get back together in August, we may be able to get a list of where those are going or are already operating?
We can talk about that offline if you don't mind, and I'll explain that to you.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Councilwoman Burke.
Thank you. Chief Weaver, is it possible, looking at the 509 firearms that have been seized this year, is it possible to get some idea as to how many arrests were made in relation to those firearms?
Yes, we'll come up with those statistics, and we'll send them out to you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Any other questions for Assistant Chief Weaver? This is an information item. Seeing no further questions, Chief, we thank you for the presentation. And if anybody has any personal questions, just get with them, give them a call, or the chief or Chief Penn, and we'll get them answered. That concludes both the consent and the general agenda items. Members of the council and committee, are there any other items or any further business that should be brought forth for consideration or for the good of the order? Seeing nothing further, we consider this meeting to be adjourned. Thank you.